This client used an investment bond to save 10 grand of tax in the current financial year and at the same time create an investment strategy that would fund the property deposit for their 2 young children. Now, if you're not in cross investment bonds already, basically an investment bond is just like an investment account, like any other investment account like CommSec or E-Trade or SelfWealth or Pearler or whatever. But if you hold your investments for 10 years or more, you don't pay any capital gains tax. And there's another huge benefit that from day one, the investment income on these investments is not included on your tax return and is not taxed at your marginal tax rate. It's taxed at a cap rate of 30%, which is much lower than most people's marginal tax rates if you earn more than $45,000 a year. And if you're on a high income, the tax saving is a lot higher. Now, these clients were both executives and mum was just getting back into the groove after 5 years disrupted with maternity leave, part-time work. The incomes were lower and savings capacity wasn't as strong as it's been. Their savings rate was strong, their tax rates were high, they had some money in an employer share plan, and they had a bunch of cash in the bank as well. The cash was sitting there because they wanted to do a bit of investing, but they were a little bit nervous with what was going on the market, so they've been treading water and hadn't pulled the trigger. When we started getting into their planning, they, like a lot of people, hadn't really heard about investment bonds, but when we started explaining and educating them on how they work, they realized that these made a lot of sense for them. They sold up their employer shares, got some of their cash savings, and they put it into an investment bond that was chock full of healthy index funds. They also directed their regular monthly savings to the bond with a small amount carved out for the 2 investment bonds, one for each of their children for those property deposits. The big benefits to these guys, firstly, was the no capital gains tax. That was created a saving of $4,000 in the first year, but calculated out to $87,000 over the first 10 years alone, and the investment was intended to run for a longer period than that. So the savings will be even higher. The second is that the capped tax inside the investment bond, instead of having the dividend income, the investment income from these investments adding on to their taxable income and getting taxed at their marginal tax rate of 47%, it was only taxed inside the bond and the tax rate was only 22%. I mentioned that the maximum tax rate that applies to an investment bond income is 30%. But a lot of times they do some magic to get the tax rate lower. On this particular income index fund, it was only 22%. So that created a tax saving of $3,500 in year one, or $76,000 over the first 10 years. That all adds to a tax upside of over $7,500 in the first year and $163,000 over the 10-year period. And on top, they set up 2 investment bonds for their kids, as I mentioned, and they back solved how much they needed to invest so that they were able to give them each $250,000 to fund their property deposit on their 21st birthday. Now, if you're investing and you are not across investment bonds already, you probably should be.